All right. So welcome everybody in tonight. Hello, hello, everybody. Ooh, we got a good group so far. I hope everyone is excited to talk about plants this evening with us. As you're coming in, feel free to type in the chat box where you're tuning in from, maybe where your local Healthy Planet is. Want to say a big thank you to Healthy Planet for hosting this with us tonight.
Hi, Janette. How are you?
Hey, Philza. Good. How are you?
Good. I'm so excited to be here with Healthy Planet and Iron Vegan. You're gonna, I know you're gonna walk us through all the amazing plant-powered goodness.
Absolutely. Yeah, very excited. It's nice because this is a bit of a different Iron Vegan presentation than some of them in the past. So if people have attended some of our, previous ones, we're really like diving deep into like herbal medicine and we're talking about adaptogens. So it's pretty exciting stuff.
And I feel like, these words are more than just buzzwords, right? Like, we have an idea of what adaptogens are, like what adaptogens, like ashwagandha is an adaptogen, but what do they truly do? And like, how does that impact us on a day-to-day, right? Like in everyday situations, like how does an adaptogen help us, right? And then how can we add that more towards like a plant-based living?
So, absolutely. Yeah, well, I mean, they're like functional superfoods, right? So they help us function a little bit better. And of course, we're going to be getting into the science of all of that. But these are things that I know you and I, like we consume on a regular basis. Yeah. So it's cool to be sharing this information with everyone.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I'm excited to like learn about it again. Right? Yes. Like it's always nice to like remind yourself of why you're taking something, even though you might be doing it. It's like, oh, I needed that reminder. So it like pushes me to continue.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we'll take about another minute or so to get everyone in. Thank you all for joining us. My name is Philza Swala. I'm a naturopathic doctor and I work with Janette at Iron Vegan. We are a group of educators and we're in the field of health and nutrition. And so any time we get offered by Healthy Planet to come and chat with you guys, we take that opportunity and we thoroughly enjoy it. I'm just going to take a moment to introduce Janette Mason. She's a certified nutritional practitioner with a focus of digestion and mental health. So she works with a wide range of clients, from athletes, business professionals, families, and everyday people like you and me. She's also worked with organizations like the BC Nurses Union and the Canadian Mental Health network as well. So she believes that by equipping people with knowledge and education, they can start to make the choices that they want to make towards a healthier and brighter future. And with that, I just want to say that I'll be here answering any questions that you guys have throughout the talk. And Janette, I'll let you just take it away and educate all of us.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Philza. So, hey guys, we are in for a jam-packed hour together. So I hope that you have your notepad and paper ready, or at least a cup of tea or a nice beverage like I'm sipping on right here, because this is going to be, it's going to be a lot of information, but it's going to be fun. And I'm really passionate about Iron Vegan. I've been a fan of the brand before I even started working with them, mostly because when you look at the back of an Iron Vegan label, you realize that it's just whole food. It's just real food ingredients. And as a nutritionist, that's something that I can certainly stand behind. So for today, we're talking all about plant-powered living. We chatted with our friends at Healthy Planet, and they were telling us that you guys really want to talk about how to be supporting yourself through the rest of the summer, as well as into the fall. I know, I can't believe I just said that. We still have a few weeks to go. Technically, we have until September 21st, but it feels like it's coming up really, really fast. So today's objectives, we're going to talk about all of how we can actually thrive with plants. So we're going to be talking about all different kinds of plants and how they can support our bodies during different stages in our life, during different parts of our day, and so on. We are going to touch on why plant-forward eating is on the rise. We're going to talk about optimal preparation methods, And I'm going to share one of my favorite recipes, which I just started making recently. I actually took it on a camping trip with me. So I feel like if you can take a recipe camping and it does really well, then it's probably pretty easy and most people are really going to like it. So I'm just going to make sure my deck is all good to go here. And I think we are. So let's get into it. First of all, when we think of Iron Vegan originally started almost, we're like getting close to 15 years ago now. And it really started as, a very athlete-centric brand. It was brought really to Canada to help fill this void in the market. So really trying to support plant-based athletes with real whole food nutrition. What we found very quickly, though, because of our fantastic formulas, as well as our eco-friendly packaging, is that a lot of people were attracted to Iron Vegan and Iron Vegan's mission. So it's not just athletes now. We now have wellness seekers, so those who really care about ingredients and sourcing and want to share their passion with their communities, as well as weekend adventurers and people that really want to support their athletic endeavors. And then also for you and me. So for the person that values their health and the health of the planet, for those who want nutrition that can help them feel great every day and show up for what matters. So with that said, let's get into it here. And I'd like us to reflect for a minute. What are the key areas that we all need further support in? So I'm talking about everybody. I'm talking about you, me, your kids, your parents, everyone in your community. What do we actually need in order to be fully functioning, vital, energetic humans? Well, it really comes down to three main areas, and it's very basic. We need something to support our energy. We need something to support our recovery. And then we need everyday fuel, right? To get us from point A to point B, to make sure that we are able to show up as the best versions of ourselves. Now, no matter what your day-to-day looks like, we all need support. So whether you are a marathon runner or maybe you are a person that is in a marathon back-to-back meetings, we all need support. And these three areas are really the three key points that we want to be focusing in on. Now, when we think about what's preventing us from reaching our goals, there could be a myriad of things that show up, but in my nutrition practice, this is definitely something that I'm seeing very often. And number one, it really does begin with our day-to-day lifestyle. You've probably heard that, quote that goes around, how you spend your life is how you spend your days. So, we can have these big, audacious goals, but if we look at our day-to-day scheduling and how we actually make time for ourselves, we should really reflect, are we actually, giving ourselves the opportunity to be reaching our goals, or are we more focused on just getting from task to task to task? What I see so often is that, people we tend to get kind of looped into this everyday go, go, go mentality. And what this ends up doing is it really pushes a lot of our goals to the side. So if we're really busy and we get home from just like, an overpowering day, it can be really difficult for us to get into the kitchen and then make like a really nutritious dinner for us and our families. And if we're not eating well and we're not prioritizing sleep and rest, it can be really difficult for us to take the next step, which is looking at maybe what supplements or superfoods that could help support us. So, these three areas here, it seems really simple, but it's also really easy for us to negate them. So what I want to focus on today is really getting to that root level and how to support ourselves at the foundation, and then we're going to move up from there, okay? So let's start with a little two examples, okay? So we have Jill, lovely, lovely Jill. So Jill is a mother. She is also, someone that has a great career and she finds fulfillment in both areas. So Jill works 40 hours per week and many days are spent in back-to-back Zoom meetings. So not a lot of time to be making healthy snacks or, breathing in some fresh air. When she does have breaks, she really does enjoy walking her dog and playing with the kids at the park. She is also an avid runner and likes to go for a jog about 2 to 3 times per week. Okay, so you think you got a good idea about Jill and what she does and maybe what she needs? Let's talk about Joe. So Joe is retired and he is an endurance athlete. This is what he lives and breathes every single day and he loves it. He tries to cycle about 40 kilometers per day, if not more. And right now he's spending the summer training a lot because he has a lot of fall races coming up. So when we think about Joe and we think about Jill, they lead very different lifestyles and they go through very different degrees of stress on a regular basis. Something that's really important to note, though, is that regardless of the type of stress, a similar physiological reaction happens in the body. So oftentimes when I talk about stress, I talk about this domino effect that happens. And the reason being is that once we have that onset of stress, meaning that once our brains identify a stressor and we realize that something is about to happen, let's say perhaps we are preparing for a meeting or we're preparing for a grueling workout, this chain reaction then kind of helps get offset so that we are able to go through with this task. Now, our stress response can be triggered by different things. It could be a hard day at the office with tight deadlines, or perhaps you're competing in a race and you're pushing the limits of your body. So what you see on the screen here is what happens during stress. So during that fight or flight response. And so let's start off at the very beginning. So our body senses stress. The first thing that happens is that our brain will send a signal to the rest of our body to start this chain reaction. So a couple different things happen. Number one, adrenaline is released to help increase our strength for fight or flight, right? So this is energy that is being pumped into our extremities so that we're able to deal with the stress, whatever it may be, or leave that stressful situation. We also have oxygen, nutrients, and blood flow being shunted to our extremities as well, too. Now, all of this is to help us deal with the stress. Oftentimes, when we think about that fight or flight, we usually think that it's a physical stress, but it could also be a mental stress. And when we think about the stress response, another area where blood flow and nutrients get shunted is actually to the brain. So the brain actually gets ready for action when you're in a state of stress. So something to note is that if you are someone that works later in the evening, or if you schedule meetings later in the evening, for example, for myself, I don't usually give presentations every single day at 7:30 p.m. because what ends up happening is that I get prepared for this presentation, which is a little bit of stress. I mean, I've definitely gotten a bit better with my stress response over the years, and I've got some great support here. But regardless, because I am doing this quote unquote stressful presentation later in the evening, this can actually affect my sleep, because something to remember is that cortisol, which is our typical, stress hormone, a lot of people will correlate cortisol with stress, also goes hand in hand with melatonin. So when cortisol is high, it can be really difficult for our body to produce enough melatonin. So think about that the next time you are scheduling out your day and you're scheduling out your meetings, because if you are someone that has a hard time going to sleep, try your best as much as possible to mitigate later meetings or even later workouts where it is increasing your cortisol, therefore shunting your melatonin response. So a number of things happen when we are in this stress state, and it's not always a bad thing to be in a state of stress. For example, I love giving these educational talks, but it is still putting my body into a state of stress. Other people really love working out. I love working out too, I have to admit, but when we are working out, we are putting our bodies into a state of stress. So it's an important thing to note that even though it's something positive, we are still drawing from the bank of energy, and it is going to be impacting our hormones and various other, mechanisms within the body. So let's bring it back to Jill and Joe. So thinking about Jill and thinking about her day-to-day life, she does have quite a bit of stress. She doesn't have a lot of time for relaxation and just, mellowing out. What are some things that you think Jill needs? It's really simple, especially if we think about it from just like a foundational level. She needs solid nutrition to support her brain health and physical endeavors. She also needs proper hydration. Hydration and water in particular is so important to help bring oxygen back into the body, and oxygen to the brain in particular is really important to ensure we're having clear thoughts. Mindfulness practices are also really important here to help shift from work mode to Jill mode. I think we all can implement some mindfulness practices. And then additional support would be things like key superfoods and nutrients to help her achieve her personal goals. Now let's think about Joe. So Joe, again, very different day-to-day life, But similar physiological responses are happening in the body because he's still putting himself under stress. So what do you think he needs? Similar, very, very similar. So Joe still needs solid nutrition to support his physical endeavors as well as proper recovery. He also needs to ensure proper hydration, and mindfulness practices would be really great for him to add in to help shift from working out to relaxing. And then additional support found in key superfood nutrients to help him achieve his goals. So the reason, so many of us are not achieving our goals or feeling our best is because we're not prioritizing what we need. So we must address the underlying cause of why we're not feeling good. And taking a hard look at your day-to-day habits can really be eye-opening. So I even suggest just starting with a simple journal entry. So let's say this week we are already at Tuesday. So maybe this evening before bed, just reflect on what your day looked like. You don't have to write out your whole schedule, but really reflect on, did you have downtime? Did you have time to play? Did you have time to be creative? What type of food did you, make for yourself for the day? I think looking back, especially if you were to do this, 3 or 4 nights in a row, you'll start to see some patterns and maybe start to see some areas where you can make some shifts. Now, stress is certainly a common underlying cause for not feeling the best. So I'd love to know from you all, what's the difference between good stress and bad stress? Please feel free to share your answer in the chat box. I'll let those come in and I'll review them later, but we'll keep going for now. When we think about good stress and bad stress, it can be quite confusing for people because for many of us, and myself included, growing up, I always thought that stress was a negative thing. It wasn't something that should be celebrated. Oh, this is a really good one. Bad stress doesn't help with sleep. So true. If you are having the type of stress that's not helping with sleep, then you're not going to be recovering very well either. Bad stress equals anxiety. Good stress equals excitement. Patsy, yes, I love this. And this actually segues very well into my next slide here. Let me just bring it up, which is the human function curve. So similar to Patsy, for me, the difference between good stress and bad stress comes down to where you are in this curve. So stress actually starts with subtle signs, and then it increases over time until you reach a breaking point. So as you can see from this diagram, there can be good stress, such as starting a new job, getting married, having children, moving homes. These are all very exciting, and your body tends to have increased energy. So if we think about the early phase or good stress, at this point in our bodies, we are feeling free-flowing creativity, a lot of productivity and energy. You may have some healthy tension, but you're getting things done. And this is typically when you're in a comfort zone of high productivity. Now, the problem starts to happen when we move past the comfort zone and then closer to the hump, which is where fatigue begins. So at this point, we start to see, some avoidance of decision-making, a change in appetite or diet, forgetfulness. Some people might start grinding their teeth at night. You might experience headaches or mild fatigue. And then chronic stress, if we keep going through the curve, can show up as missed work deadlines or targets, persistent tiredness, and just feeling overall very unwell in the body as well as in the mind. And if it keeps going, once we pass exhaustion and in ill health, this is where burnout can occur. And burnout certainly does seem to be a bit of an epidemic right now. I am seeing a lot of people, even just in my own personal community, dealing with burnout. We can't ignore the last 16 months and everything that all of us have gone through. And if you couple that with, some family challenges or work challenges or whatever it may be, it's very reasonable for someone to be experiencing burnout right now. So are you at your breaking point? I'd love for you to just kind of take a moment to reflect, where you are on that diagram, because we know it's so much easier to come back from the stress onset phase than the burnout phase. Now, just because if you do self-identify as someone that has been dealing with burnout for a while, a lot of what I'm going to be sharing with you today, simple tips and tricks and specific, nutritional advice, these things can help you as well. But what I really want to, share as much as possible is to really educate yourself on the effects of stress. And again, there can be good stress and there can be bad stress, but we have to realize that stress is stress and it's going to have a negative impact on us if we do not support our bodies on a daily basis. So your body does rely on constant supportive nutrition and lifestyle habits to stay healthy, and consistency is key. So it's not just about starting something for a week or a month. It's really about finding simple shifts that you can integrate into your day-to-day lifestyle. So something that we talk about a lot at Iron Vegan is reaching your optimal self state. Now, optimal self state, when I think about that and when I'm kind of explaining it to people, is I'd like you to think of a time when you felt and you performed at your best. So some people, they think of an age, other people think of a season or maybe a time of day that you are just, I'm in my optimal self state. I'm moving and grooving and everything is feeling really, really good. And we want to be able to achieve that so that we can come back to it time and time again, because us as humans, we're not meant to be, living our life in this tired, lethargic brain fog kind of way. No, we're supposed to be waking up in the morning and feeling good and excited about life and wanting to deal with these challenges that are ahead of us, instead of going through things with, resentment and fatigue and so on and so forth. So, reaching your optimal self state for me, and then for a lot of other people too, really is about working and really improving our own resilience, because, there really is no avoiding stress. It's a part of life. And resilience is the ability to adapt well to stress. So I would love to know, for you guys, what does resilience mean to you? And maybe how do you actually practice resilience on a day-to-day basis? Because I think, this is something that we can learn from each other. I'm just looking back at your comments here. So good stress is motivating. Bad stress can trigger negative physical and emotional stressors. Yes, absolutely. Good stress is from a sense of achievement. Yes, I love that. I love that. So if you guys can share now, how you support yourself on a regular basis. So how do you actually, cultivate resilience within yourself? Got some coming in here. Sleep. Yes, definitely. Man, sleep is such an important part when we think about recovery in all aspects, mentally and physically. Perfect. Okay. So moving on here, when we think about resilience, I actually got a couple more coming in. Eating the right foods, hydration, gratitude, deep breaths after stress. Yes, absolutely. Getting outside in nature. Girl after my own heart. Absolutely. I totally agree. So to me, resilience is the ability to cope with life's various stressors in a positive way. And it really offers many, many health benefits. Resilience is associated with longevity and greater satisfaction with life. And a lack of resilience will hinder our ability to handle stress. So luckily, and fortunately, really, resilience is a muscle. So like this beautiful rose, we can all learn to do hard things with the right mindset, the proper lifestyle hygiene. So a lot of what you guys talked about, diet, exercise, stress management techniques, etc., as well as key nutrients and supplements, we can all learn how to build our resilience to better deal with stress. Mindfulness meditation. Yes, Jackie, absolutely. I love that. So bringing it back to this slide, the 3 areas we all need support in: energy, recovery, and fuel. And truthfully, energy is really the main area that I'm hearing from my clients as well as from our community that we all need a little bit more support in. So let's talk about this here. Have you ever been in a situation where your energy is so low that you're looking for a quick fix? I think back to when I was actually, a varsity rower in university, and I'd be getting up at 4 a.m. to be making those 5 a.m. practices at the water. And, thinking about what I went for quick energy. Well, back then it would be something like a Vega bar. I'm sorry, not a Vega bar. What were they called? The Vicro. Anyways, it was like a cereal bar, no protein in it whatsoever. It was basically just those like simple carbohydrates. I was never, an energy drink type girl, but I was definitely coffee lover, juice lover, anything to just give me that quick little boost. So if you can share some of your go-tos for an energy boost, I think that would definitely be interesting for people to see. Ones that I've definitely heard of a lot would be things like sugary drinks, caffeine in any shape or size, easily digestible foods like fruit or simple carbohydrates, as well as sport energizers. So sport energizers, this is a bit of a touch and go issue here, especially in the nutrition world, because, there are some individuals that really thrive and really enjoy introducing some sort of energizer, whether it's a powdered one or a liquid drink, into their day-to-day regime, because they really like that to get a really good workout in, or maybe they do this instead of a regular coffee that other people might go for. Now, there are some concerns around energizers. Number one would be usually too much caffeine, which in some people can result in the jitters as well as feelings of anxiety, because often there can actually be more than one source of caffeine in an energizer blend. So it could be something like coffee, yerba mate, green tea, or just caffeine as an extract itself. And then the second part really does come down to artificial sweeteners and sugar alcohols, which can cause intestinal distress and discomfort in some people. And a high intake of sugar alcohols may trigger uncomfortable symptoms such as gas, bloating, and diarrhea, all of which can really disrupt your workout as well as just how you're feeling throughout the day. So ideally, we want to be mindful of the type of energizers that we're bringing in. Now, for other people, they might go for a black coffee or just, coffee on its own. So what actually happens when we drink coffee on its own? Well, number one, coffee contains caffeine, which enters your bloodstream. It then stimulates your nervous system to boost your energy. Now, this creates a sensation of alertness. However, too much caffeine can make a person too alert, which is when you start to feel wired. Now, caffeine also increases your cortisol levels, the stress hormone that releases during those fight or flight moments in life, or when you feel the weight of your bursting inbox on your shoulders. So it is important to realize that, coffee can have some benefits, but we do also have to realize that it can also have some negative effects if we're not consuming it properly or if we're consuming too much. So something that I'm actually a fan of right now and that I am seeing a lot of buzz around is coffee elixirs. So if you've never had a coffee elixir before, if you don't know what an elixir is, basically elixir is just a fancy term for a mixed drink. So you're combining something that has a base, usually it would be coffee or tea, and then you're adding in some superfoods, whatever it may be. It could be Maca, Ashwagandha. We talked about a couple of these at the top of the presentation before we began, but essentially what you're doing is you're getting the benefit of both the base drink, in this case coffee, and then whatever it is that you're adding to it. So there actually is a lot of synergy when we are adding things like adaptogens into coffee. Now, when we drink coffee, a lot of the times when I'm explaining this to, a client or somebody, I like to talk about it in the terms of really balancing your bank account of energy. So when you drink coffee, you get that boost of energy, which is really great, but it's also impacting your nervous system. So drinking coffee is kind of like taking from the bank account of energy. You feel good in the moment, but overall you have withdrawn something in order to receive this temporary benefit. Now, adding adaptogens to your coffee actually helps to balance this out. So you're getting the benefit of the coffee as well as getting the benefit of the adaptogens, and it's not going to have such a strong impact on your nervous system. So adaptogens actually help your body adapt to varying degrees of stress and just help your body adapt to, day-to-day goings-on. So adaptogens work to balance both the emotional and physical stress that can lead to anxious feelings and inflammation down the line. Additionally, by balancing our cortisol levels, which as I mentioned, do get increased when we drink coffee, adaptogens help us to feel the stimulating benefits of coffee without the elevated feelings of stress or jitters throughout the day. So I wanted to pull this study in because I just think it's so cool. It's a really great depiction of what happens when you combine adaptogens with coffee versus drinking coffee on its own. So the red line is showing you the impact of coffee in your system when you're just drinking coffee on its own. So you get that super high spike of caffeine. You're feeling really great, but then you've probably experienced this before, the letdown afterwards, and then eventually it'll fizzle out. What they actually saw when they were adding adaptogens to the coffee was that they had a smooth increase in energy throughout the day, and it didn't fizzle out as quickly. So you're getting more of that prolonged benefit. Plus, you're getting the added benefits of the adaptogens. And overall, I just think it's such a great idea to combine the two. Now, not everyone is a coffee drinker, and I totally support that. My fiance actually doesn't drink coffee at all, but he does love natural energizers. So I wanted to share some ingredients with you that, you can use them on their own, or you can also use them. We actually have some great formulations where you'll get all of these ingredients in one. So we're going to talk about some natural energizers to support performance. So this could be mental performance or physical performance, as well as resilience. So bringing it back to that stress piece, really helping our bodies respond well to stress. So number one being maca. So you may have heard of this South American root before. Many people are drawn to it for its energy giving properties. Now maca is consumed both as a sports supplement by strength and endurance athletes and as a natural stimulant to enhance sexual drive. So it has hormonal benefits as well as energy benefits. This was a great study really looking at the two together. So this study was looking at the cardio output and sexual desire of male cyclists. It was a 14-day study. They were giving maca extract supplementation. And what they found throughout the group is that not only did their cycling time trial improve, but their libido improved as well. Next is a mushroom. So mushrooms, I feel like for the last year and beyond have been the superfood. A lot of people are getting really, really interested in them, and for good reason. They have so many different medicinal properties, but here we're really touching on the adaptogenic benefits of mushrooms. So I don't think I really explained this before, but adaptogens are smart substances that actually work with your existing state of health to help you enable to better deal with environmental, physical, and mental stress factors. So it's pretty cool. And then Astragalus. So Astragalus is one herb that I feel like doesn't get enough attention, at least in, our modern, health and wellness space. But in traditional Chinese medicine, it is one of the king herbs, and for good reason. It really has been studied for its energy benefits. In traditional Chinese medicine, they consider it a key or energy tonifying herb. So really good for vitality and just improving overall mood as well. So you can actually find all of these herbs as well as the mushrooms in our balanced energy blend, which is actually what I'm drinking right now. So I really like these blends because it's designed to support energy output as well as combat mental fatigue at a foundational level. But there's nothing in there that's going to prevent me from going to sleep a little bit later, and they're really delicious. So when we think about, who I would recommend balanced energy for, I would say for anyone that's experiencing, work from home burnout or just burnout in general, digital fatigue for sure, low motivation. And for anyone that's looking for, better energy for the activities that they love, less mental fatigue, and just a whole food approach to improving energy output. So the balanced energy comes in two flavors. So the first one is roasted coffee, which I'm drinking right now on its own, but you could also add this to your morning coffee. You can just blend it up in your blender, add a little bit of nut butter or nut milk or whatever it is that you like to have in your coffee. And then you're making a coffee elixir like I talked about before. So this actually is made, it's obviously all natural. And then it has all of the mushrooms that I talked about, the reishi, cordyceps, and lion's mane, as well as astragalus and maca. And then it does also come in a completely caffeine-free one, which is the iced tea lemonade, also really delicious, and same ingredients here. So when we, think about true holistic health, recovery really does need to be just as much of a priority as boosting energy. So again, whether you are in, running marathons, or if you are in back-to-back meetings and have a crazy schedule, our core needs are still the same. So let's talk about recovery for a second. What are some things that we can lean on for support when we are at a stage where we do need some recovery? So let me just give you some examples for a second. Let's say that you did finish a really busy day. You're coming home at the end of the day. What do you do to support yourself so that the next day you're not feeling totally burnt out and tired? One of the things that I really like to bring into my practice, and that you all were talking about before, is bringing in some mindfulness practices or some meditation or some deep breathing. So box breathing was actually one of the first breathing techniques that I was taught. I studied meditation in university. It's a long story, but yes, this was a program. And anyways, we really did study the cognitive benefits of slowing down your breath and how that actually affected your neural pathways. So let me show you really quickly. You're probably familiar with box breathing, but if you're not, it's all to the count of 4. And so you're basically in your mind drawing the lines of a box. So I'll just do one round with you really quick. So box breathing, here we go. So we go in for 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you hold for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you let it out for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you hold again for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can do this, 3 to 5 times more if you want to. I find even doing it 3 times really helps recenter my energy, recenter my focus. And especially in those times where I am feeling a little bit restless or a little bit anxious, it really does help kind of bring me back into the moment so I can, go on with the task at hand. So that's one thing that we can lean on, something like box breathing, or really any type of deep breathing, meditation, you name it. There's also superfoods. I did tell you guys we're going to talk about herbs and nutrients quite a bit today, and this is really exciting for me because I am a huge fan of these two. So Philza said at the top that I do quite a bit of work with Canadian Mental Health Association. So I love to go in and talk to their community members about different ways to help mitigate stress as well as support those anxious feelings. And my go-to 2 nutrients and kind of things that I always have in my back pocket are these 2 on the screen. So L-Theanine and holy basil. So L-Theanine is an amino acid. It's naturally high in matcha green tea, but we don't really find it in a lot of other food-based sources in a high enough quantity for it really to be quantifiable. So L-Theanine is really great if you can get it in some sort of formula, which of course I'm going to share with you. And it really is known as the Zen amino acid. So it's really been studied for calming down the mind and really helping to reset the nervous system. The second one is holy basil, also known as Tulsi. So this herb comes to us from India and is another one that is so great for calming the mind as well as the body. The next 2 are ashwagandha and tart cherry. So ashwagandha, I feel like a lot of people, they know about it, especially when we think about, adaptogens. It's usually the top of most people's list. However, I was really excited to see this new research come out that really showed that ashwagandha can really be used for so much more than just stress support. So I actually found a study linking ashwagandha supplementation with improving muscle mass and strength. So yes, it can help support, our stress response. But for those of you that are athletes and are really looking to just, improve your overall output, maybe you are looking to improve muscle mass, ashwagandha is a really great one to have in your arsenal. And then tart cherry. So inflammation and stress often go hand in hand. That's usually why when you are, in a stressed out state for a prolonged period of time, a lot of people will start to experience, sore shoulders, sore back. Essentially, the body is tensing up to that response of stress. So bringing in some strong anti-inflammatories like tart cherry are a really, really good choice. And then turmeric is also well known for its anti-inflammatory action, and it's also been studied for its benefit towards reducing DOMS. So DOMS stands for delayed onset muscle soreness. So especially if you are someone that, likes to be physically active on a regular basis, this can be really helpful to ensure that the next day when you go out, whether you're going for a hike or you're going for a kayak, that you're not experiencing that pain that you might have if you didn't have anti-inflammatories. Now you can find all of these herbs as well as chaga mushroom in our rebound recovery. And this really is like an amazing blend. It also tastes really good. It's tropical mango peach flavor. Again, this is a powder, so you can add it into, basically any beverage that you want, but just in water tastes great to me. And so, as I said, you're going to find all of those ingredients, and the key benefits and claims are that it does help to promote relaxation. It helps to relieve inflammation in the body. And it does include tart cherry and turmeric to help, again, especially for that athletic recovery after a workout or after an intense period of physical exercise. So both of these really do work hand in hand to ensure that we are in that healthy tension phase. So we don't go past our comfort zone to fatigue, exhaustion, ill health, and so on. So both of these, again, obviously very strong in the herbal base and mushrooms, and have really been designed to help ensure that you do have energy to go about your day, to go about, the things that you want to do, those goals that you have, and then also the recovery to ensure that after whatever it is that you want to do is done, you're able to come back down to your natural homeostasis to where you are really feeling good, that optimal self state. Now, moving on, what gets depleted when we are under stress? There's probably going to be a lot of answers here, various nutrients for sure. But what comes top of mind for me is really our ability to repair effectively. Someone said in the beginning that, what bad stress does to us is that it really does influence how well we're able to sleep and how well we're able to recover. So bringing in something like fermented L-Glutamine is a really great addition for so many reasons. L-Glutamine has been studied for everything from gut health to improving our muscle recovery, and is really something that I think should be in most people's arsenal, especially if you are physically active on a regular basis. So L-Glutamine is an amino acid, and it comes from a variety of sources. You do want to be careful, of course, when you are looking for any sort of supplement. You want to know where it's coming from. And ours is actually sourced from bacterially fermenting vegetables. So the Health Canada approved claims for L-Glutamine are vast and quite extensive. We do not have time to cover everything today. But essentially, I use L-Glutamine in my practice a lot of the times for digestive healing protocols. So for someone that has been experiencing a lot of, digestive distress, this is something that's great to add into a smoothie or add in somewhere during the day. Other people may choose to use it as like a post-workout recovery, added into, again, a shake or, some sort of recipe to ensure that they are getting that muscle cell repair, in effectively, because it is really, really good. All right, so now we're going to move on and finish up by speaking about everyday fuel. So, moving from energy and repair, we do need quality daily fuel. So what you consume on a regular basis can have a dramatic effect on your daily energy levels, as well as your overall health. So there is a pretty big wave right now, and I feel like it will be, kind of always going on, where people are kind of experimenting with a more plant-forward diet. Now, when we think about Iron Vegan, we are not isolating ourselves to vegans only. I myself am not a strict vegan. I do eat a variety of plants, and I would say I'm very plant-forward, but we're not essentially a company that is just focusing on those that are vegan. If you are a vegan, we have a lot of great support for you, but if you're someone that's maybe just kind of playing around with the idea of including more plant-based meals, we're also here for you too. So when we are talking to people in our community about why they are looking towards Iron Vegan and just looking towards, more plant-based options in general, there's a variety of reasons, but health would certainly be number one. Research does show that plant-based diets are cost-effective, low-risk interventions that can lower body mass index, blood pressure, inflammation markers, as well as cholesterol levels. People are also interested in sustainability, environmental concerns, and then in animal concerns and ethics. One question that we do get very, very often is plant protein enough? And what we have to say is that, protein is so incredibly important. This is actually an area that we focus on quite a bit with people in our community because, it's an area that I feel like a lot of people think that they've got covered, but they might not necessarily. So it is really important to understand, where you're getting your protein from and are you getting enough through the day? What I will tell you is that plants do provide very, very high quality and if prepared properly, easily digestible protein. And so I wanted to show you this slide here because this is looking at protein content percentages from various sources. And as you can see, brown rice and pea are actually on par with whey and even human muscle. Now, there are some myths about plant-based protein that I will touch on very quickly because, these are concerns that are very valid. So number one is taste. Plant-based proteins don't taste very good. The other is that they are incomplete. So plant-based proteins do not contain the full spectrum of essential amino acids. They're hard to digest and they don't really give us the same performance benefits as whey or casein. So let's get into these myths really quick. Number one is about taste. So yes, I will agree when plant-based proteins first came into the market 20 years ago, they did not taste very good. I remember my first experience, which was about 14 years ago. It was this raw hemp protein and yeah, it ruined my smoothie. Bad experience overall. But we do know, of course, taste really does matter, which is why so many companies have put so much research and time into developing, flavor profiles that work for everyone. Because when we think about making a change, that want factor is really, really important. So if you haven't tried Iron Vegan before, I can tell you as someone that has a particular taste profile, I really do love the flavors. And, even for picky eaters, we've had really great, feedback overall. So whether you're a chocolate person, vanilla, or you like unflavored, we've got selections for you. The next is about vegan proteins being incomplete. So how can we get our body to make complete building blocks if vegan proteins are not complete? So this is partly true. There are a variety of plant sources of protein that do not contain the full spectrum of amino acids. However, we do not eat food in isolation, and our body is incredibly intelligent. When we eat a wide variety of plants, we're actually able to get complete protein sources through specific combinations. Now, of course, smart manufacturers like Iron Vegan have put together specific plants to make complete protein for you. So it completely takes the guesswork out and you do not need to worry. The next is about digestion. And this is certainly something that I'm very passionate about as someone that works a lot in the digestion field. And that is that some plant-based proteins can be hard on the gut. And this is absolutely true, but this is why formulating and really preparing the proteins in the plants are so important because it can make such a big difference. So for example, through fermenting as well as sprouting, we're really able to ensure that we are able to digest as well as absorb and assimilate the foods effectively. Okay, I just saw a lot of questions come in, so I just want to make sure you guys can still see my screen. I think that you can. Excellent. Okay, and I will review the questions at the end too. I just know that we want to make sure we're on time for people that do need to leave, within the hour. So the next is about, actual performance concerns. Again, tons of studies here that actually show that plant-based proteins are on par or better in some cases than animal-based proteins. And one study that I wanted to show you in particular, because CrossFit is, as popular as ever right now, is one that comes out from CrossFit Nashville. It was done in 2019. It was an 8-week study, and essentially the group was split into two. They had one that was consuming animal-based protein, it was whey, and then they had the pea-based protein, and they did similar exercises. Everyone was monitored, and what they found in the end was that they each group reached their targeted goal effectively. They both grew in body mass similarly. So essentially, it really does come down to your own preference and what works best for your body. Now, I will say that, as we mentioned before, when it comes to, choosing your protein, not all plant proteins are the same. So looking for something that's sprouted can really help with not only improving the bioavailability of the nutrients, like your antioxidants, your vitamins, and your minerals, it also helps with digestion and also improves the amino acid or the protein content. Fermentation does something very similar, and it actually reduces something called anti-nutrients. So anti-nutrients are constituents that are found within plants. You might have heard of things like phytic acid, lectins, and tannins. All of these things can cause a bit of digestive distress. And so through fermenting, we're actually drastically reducing the amount of anti-nutrients that are present within the plants. Fermenting also does help reduce gas and overall just helps with digestion, as well as improving the nutritional quality of the food. So again, similar to sprouting, it does increase the bioavailability of the amino acids, as well as certain vitamins and antioxidants. I wanted to share this because this is a study looking at one amino acid in particular, lysine. And what they found was that fermented grains have between 3 to 10 times more lysine than unfermented grains. Again, this is just a snapshot, but it really is just to show you the benefit of sprouting and fermenting. So when I'm looking for a plant-based protein, I really am looking for sprouted, bacterially fermented, pasting, and gluten-free and non-GMO. That's probably a given for most people. And this is why I love Iron Vegan, because it's just real food. There's no funky ingredients. And, for a lot of people, they like to be able to read the label and understand what's actually in the package. So the sprouted protein was the first protein that Iron Vegan came out with. So it's a mix of sprouted and fermented grains and seeds. So we have brown rice, quinoa, amaranth, millet, and pumpkin seed. And as you can see, it's all organic. So each scoop will provide you with 90 calories, 17 grams of protein, 3 grams of fiber, and 1 gram of fat. Now, I love this protein because you can actually cook and bake with it. There's a ton of recipes at myironvegan.ca, as well as on our Instagram and Facebook at myironvegan. You can connect with us there because we're always sharing, workouts, recipes, so many things. And I actually wanted to share a recipe that I think I said at the beginning I was going to share with you. And so basically, this is my super seed muesli, whatever you want to call it. You can call it a chia pudding, but I thought muesli was a little more fancy. But basically, I took all of these ingredients and I put them in individual little Ziploc bags because I went backcountry camping a couple weeks ago. And so this was, I used a canoe, had like 3 portages, and I was allowed 1 bag. So this is my food for the morning, and it was honestly the most delicious thing. And I've been making it since I've come home, and I've made it for, my fiance and friends that have visited too. So really, really easy. I'm not going to do everything right now because I'm not in my kitchen, but basically it was just a combination of hemp hearts, which you can get at Healthy Planet, pumpkin seeds, chia seeds, there we go. And then I really love the caramel sprouted protein, but you could also use like chocolate or vanilla or unflavored if you like. And then what you do is you mix everything up, add your liquid, walk away for like 5-10 minutes. The protein and the chia seeds as well as the hemp seeds will thicken up quite quickly. And then you can add like your cacao nibs or your goji berries, whatever you like. Really, really easy on the go breakfast. So try it out. We just wanted to share a little recipe with you. So as I mentioned, this one is available in chocolate, vanilla, caramel, and unflavored. And then the last one that I wanted to touch on, because Iron Vegan is really, really popular in the athletic community, and I know we do have some athletes joining us tonight, I wanted to talk about the Athletes Blend. before I go any further, I do want to say that although it's called the Athlete's Blend, it's really for anyone that deals with stress on a regular basis. Because as I said throughout the presentation, our needs are very similar. And even if you're not someone that goes to the gym on a regular basis, if you're someone that, lives in North America and you have a busy life, 10 to 1, you're going to need similar nutrients as our athletes here. So it really is fueling a new generation. And so, of course, we've stayed true to all of our Iron Vegan values. And then we do have it as informed sport guarantee. So for individuals that are, let's say, in a professional line sports or what have you, or even just for people that want to know that what's in the product is actually in the product and nothing funky has been added, this is our third-party certification for that. So the Athlete's Blend really is kind of the bigger, stronger brother of our sprouted protein. So we're moving from 17 grams per serving to 30. And this one is a combination of organic sprouted brown rice and organic fermented pea protein isolate. Now, when you travel around the world, you'll see lots of traditional dishes combining rice and peas. Or why do you think that is? It's because they complement each other so perfectly. So what one is low in, the other is high in, and they really do fit together like two pieces of Lego. Combining sprouted brown rice and pea proteins together, you're really getting a very highly bioavailable protein that rivals whey protein. And then in this formula, we do have strategically chosen cofactors that have really been there to help support the hard training contemporary athlete. So naturally in the pea and the rice, you're going to have 2 grams of that amino acid glutamine that we talked about before. Then we've added an additional 6 grams. You're getting 8 grams of glutamine per serving. And then 7 grams of branched chain amino acids. So branched chain amino acids are essential amino acids. They are leucine, isoleucine, and valine. BCAAs do not have to be processed in the liver, and they aid in protein synthesis. They also help prevent muscle sparing. So they actually, help promote muscle sparing. So for some people, especially if they work out fasted, sometimes, muscle breakdown, of course, is going to occur. With BCAAs, we're actually helping to support the health of our muscles overall. And we've also added in beetroot juice. So there's so much buzz on this ingredient. I see more and more people, add beets to their smoothies and, look for the juice isolate on its own. But we've added it in here so that you get the benefit of it. And so the research on beetroot juice are that it has been shown to improve nutrient delivery and in turn support exercise performance. Now, one of the ways that it does this is it actually acts as a vasodilator. So beetroot is a really rich source of nitrates, and nitrate converted to nitrite is then converted to nitric oxide. The nitric oxide helps deliver oxygen into the cells, helps open everything up. And again, this is how we're actually getting more nutrients through our blood flow. And so this is the overall ingredient list here. We've also added in taurine, quercetin, and zinc. All very great ingredients to support, stressed out bodies from athletic performance or from mental stress. Also have been shown to be very important for individuals that are following a very plant-based diet. And this is just the overview of what Informed Sport means. Essentially, it's just a program that certifies that all nutritional supplements and or ingredients that bear the Informed Sport logo have been tested for banned substances. And now how to incorporate. So I have in here that for in the morning, you could start off with your balanced energy blend. In the afternoon, evening, or post-workout, you could add in your rebound recovery. Daily nutrition would be your Iron Vegan Sprouted Protein. And for next level athletic support, the Iron Vegan Athlete's Blend would be my go-to. Now, from Iron Vegan to you, we believe in the power of plants for a healthier world. So I really hope that you did maybe learn something new in this last hour together. And we did it. We're right on the money. It's 8:26. So thank you all so much for spending the last little while with us. I will read through your questions if there's anything left, but otherwise, we'll bid you good night. Thank you again to Healthy Planet for hosting. And I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your evening. If you're in Ontario, it is now dark out. but hopefully you can still go for a little walk before bed. Okay, I'm going to answer one of these questions about texture because, yes, this is very important for picky eaters. So I believe this is from Teresa. So when we think about texture, I would say the Athlete's Blend is actually one of the smoothest protein powders I've ever had. The sprouted protein to myself, I think is great. But I have heard from very, very picky eaters that the Athlete's Blend is even smoother than the sprouted protein. So I would try that one out first. Thank you all. Yeah, thank you so much for coming. I'm just seeing if there are any other questions. I feel like our resident naturopathic Dr. Filza answered a lot of them. Leslie, for daily nutrition, I recommend a sprouted protein. Realistically, you could use the Athlete as well, but the sprouted protein is nice because you can add it into so many different recipes. So again, check out ironvegan.ca if you want just a whole list of recipes. There's also a blog that I posted recently that's up there, and it's all about the blend, so the recovery as well as the energy blend. Connie, so there's no added sugar into these. So depending on your situation, you should be safe, but I definitely encourage you to talk to your medical doctor, your dietitian, your nutritionist first, just to make sure that it works well for you. But there's no added sugars. Thanks so much, everybody. Well, I think that is it for tonight. So I'm going to shut down the show. Again, thanks again to Healthy Planet. Hey,
Thank you,
Filza.
Janette. It was a great presentation. A lot of great questions. And yeah, looking forward to connecting with you guys, and I hope you guys all enjoy the Iron Vegan products.
Awesome. Have a great night, everyone.
Good night.